through the rapidly changing media technology landscape of the past decade to the live broadcasting, smartphone-wielding world of today. With us is Dr. Kiki Sanford, and she's best known for her work producing and hosting This Week in Science. But her entire career is dedicated to making science fun and accessible. She is recognized as one of the top science media personalities in the nation, holds a doctorate in molecular, cellular, and integrative physiology with an emphasis in neurobiology, and a bachelor's degree in wildlife fisheries and conservation biology from the University of California, Davis. She's a specialist in learning and memory, and her most recent entrepreneurial venture, Broader Impact Productions, aims to help scientists tell their stories to the world. So please join me in giving her a warm welcome.
Thank you. Everyone hear me all right? Yay, mic's working. So I just want you all to know that I'm using modern technology to broadcast this to the world right now. I don't know. Nobody's watching right now, but maybe they will. You're watching, that's right. So This Week in Science is the podcast and radio show that I've been doing for a very long time now. And I haven't really decided whether it's a labor of love, but I don't know if it's folly or just perseverance. I don't know. But I keep doing it, and I love it. So anyway, it's a podcast, it's a radio show, and we have a short video that'll tell you a little bit more.
Science! 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 This Week in Science. TWIS!
Weekly science news infotainment.
I'm Dr. Kiki, a neurophysiologist. I'm Blair, a zoologist.
And I'm Justin, the voice of reason. And every week we talk about
Cognitive science, chemistry, and nutrition. Endangered animals, echinoderms, and evolution.
Neanderthals, neuroscience, and nanotechnology.
End of the world, world robot domination. Sharks, space, and sexuality.
Pandas, paleontology, physics.
Watch us live every Thursday
It's really
8
Wednesday.
p.m. Pacific Time. Yes.
on twist.org/live. Twist.org/live.
TWIS.org/live.
And don't forget to catch old episodes on our YouTube channel.
YouTube.com/This Week in Science.
If you forget where to find us,
Just remember,
So that gives you kind of a feel for what kind of a show it is. It's fun. It's about science, obviously. And there are 3 of us who currently do the show. Blair, who, as she said, is a zoologist. She works currently at the San Francisco Zoo in their science communications department. She's also worked at the Jerusalem Zoo as an animal keeper. She doesn't like squirrels, and she's not really fond of pandas either. Justin is a car salesman, and he has been, since about 2005, not the voice of reason so much, but I think a really good addition to the show because he's not a scientist. He asks questions that sometimes I forget are important, and he brings a different perspective to the show. And I will say, his part in the show is somewhat controversial. People either love him or hate him. I love him, so he stays. And then myself, as you heard from Jamie earlier, I have a doctorate in molecular, cellular, integrative physiology, but really I like to say that I study bird brains. I was interested in spatial learning and memory and how birds get from place to place and remember how to get from place to place in the world. And from my PhD, I moved into this world of science communication and the world of I got tired of slicing up bird brains, so I wanted to tell people about things that I was learning that I thought was fun. I realized that my most enjoyable times were at conferences, when I was talking with other people, trying to explain my poster to somebody, or when I was teaching a class, or when I was talking to a student, or when we started the show, being able to talk about the show. And so we have the beginnings of the show that started around about the year 2000. So we've been going for about 15 years now. It wasn't originally a podcast because in those days, the technology wasn't really there, and there weren't podcasts at that time. So it was a college radio show. And it was myself and a friend named Ted Dunning, and later on we added in another friend, Greg Yen. And, oh wait, that's not really the beginning of the show. The beginning of the show, where it all came from, was a summer around 1998-99 when Greg and Ted and Justin and I, we sat around we shared an apartment complex, and it was a hot summer. We lived in Davis, California, so the nights were still hot and everybody's outside because nobody's air conditioning works because we're college students. We can't afford nice places. And we drank Budweiser. That was what we did. We drank Budweiser and talked about science because, science and beer go well together. And really, beer is science if you think about fermentation and yeast and all the processes that are involved. So I think This Week in Science has very auspicious beginnings. But anyway, those conversations about science that were steeped in beer, one day eventually turned into this, we should talk about this on the radio. And I went, oh, I know the public affairs director at the college radio station. Let's pitch the show, let's do it. And they said yes. And so we started out doing the show half an hour once a week. And it was this very low-tech thing to start. The show, of course, was just a radio show. There was not really a way to archive things. There was no cloud in the beginning. And so I'm sure some of you recognize these devices on the screen, cassette tapes. That was my high-tech solution to keeping copies of our show for perpetuity. Oh yeah, and then, the internet was there was an internet. 2000, the internet was there. I was looking at stuff on the internet. It was slightly full of cats. So we decided to fill it with science, and we made ourselves a web page. We're like, hey, we have some web coding skills. We can make our own website. It was this really ugly, dense website full of information, and you can actually go in the Wayback Machine on archive.org, and they've got our website, TWIS.org, our website going back. This is the first instance from Thursday, May 23rd, 2002, which is one of the first scrapes they did of the website, which is pretty neat. And so we started just following the technology. Okay, we've got this radio show, we're using radio technology. Okay, we're using cassette tapes to archive the show. Now we've got this new forum for communication. We actually put a forum on our website. So we were able to start communicating with our audience in a better, more ongoing fashion rather than private emails. We now have this public community forum with which we can talk to our audience. And it just started getting really interesting. And then, oh wow, digital formats of recording. We bought an MP3 recorder, a mini Discman. The MP3 format was pretty awesome. And so I have this box now at home, one box of cassette tapes, one box of these old mini discs. But the MP3s that we started getting from those files, from that technology, we started being able to put them on our website. And so around 2003 to 2004, we actually created an RSS feed. And there was no feed creator at that point in time. There was no, easy solution to it. My husband, Marshall, who's walking out of the room with our son right now, he actually coded the RSS feed that we first created. He made it, and we put things out to the world. And we started out with something like, in 2003, I think we had maybe 100 listeners online that were subscribing through the various feed readers. And then iTunes came around. So Justin came into the show around 2005. iTunes created the iTunes podcast directory. And all of a sudden, we had 1,000 listeners online. And those numbers kept growing. And we started reaching more and more people. And it became so much bigger than we ever expected it to be at that point because of the technology and our ability to now not only broadcast live, which we love, but also to be able to archive that information for everyone forever, and then to be able to communicate with the audience in this really interesting ongoing fashion. So there are these like 3 tent poles of what technology is enabling us to do that kind of keep driving me forward now. And so technology kept advancing, and voice over IP processes, software like Skype became available. And now instead of having to call in from a telephone to the radio station if I was out of town, we were still recording the show at the radio station at this point in time. Instead of calling in by phone, I could call in by Skype, and it was a much better sounding result for the radio program. And so Skype became this really wonderful tool that we could use. The internet kept growing. There were more cats on the internet, of course, and then came live streaming networks. And we were able to move from recording at the radio station in Davis to recording out of the This Week in Tech studios in Petaluma, California. And This Week in Tech, or TWIS, they've been, Leo Laporte has been working for years to develop this live streaming platform for tech-related audience. So he allowed us to come in and be a third-party broadcaster through their system. So it was pretty awesome. We got to come into the studio sometimes, but even if we couldn't go into the studio, as you can see up here, I could be piped in via Skype because they use Skype on various servers to be able to bring in guests. And so if I was at home, but Justin could be at the studio, that worked. And sometimes it was just a matter of both of us being on Skype at the same time and just calling in to the TWIS servers, and then they broadcast the completed live feed all together. So this technology is like all of a sudden allowing us to do a lot more interesting stuff. I mean, we went from being audio only to now live video. We got a new website because you got to have stuff that's a little bit more visual and be able to put video up on the website, make people see things because people like seeing it. So we got a new website. That's nice. The forum is gone now. We updated and realized that, yeah, people aren't really doing forums like they used to. So we now have moved on from the TWIS network, and we are using Google Plus Hangouts on Air. And so Google has created this free platform for anyone to use to be able to broadcast to the world. You can have private Hangouts where it's just you and the people you invite, or you can have public Hangouts like what we do, the Hangouts on Air, where you actually put the link out, the stream out to everyone. It posts to the Hangouts on Air page on the Google website, and it also posts to the our YouTube channel. So anyone can go to our YouTube channel or the Google Plus website and watch. And we also have taken the feed, and we now have a live stream on our website that you can go to, so you can watch the show live and be a part of the chat room at the same time. And so that's the next part of the technology puzzle that we've kind of brought together. Some of our audience members, our community members, have created a special chat room for us in a web chat. It's web chat, freenode, webchat.freenode.net is the website, and you can create a chat room. Anyone can create their own chat room for events, but we now are able to put the chat room feed and the video feed together, and so there's an ongoing commentary of all the people watching the show live that I can watch while we're doing the show and be able to respond to people who are in the chat room. And so it's this, all of a sudden, it's even better than having a call-in guest on the radio. All of a sudden, the technology is allowing me to see how people are responding and reacting to what we're saying in real time. And so it's become this really exciting adventure of like, okay, let's really interact with our audience. This is so cool. And so from our live stream, like I said, we have our own YouTube channel. All of these videos end up on the YouTube channel. And of course, when you can stream live, why not do a 21-hour live stream? We did that. It was really fun. Do you guys remember the end of the Mayan calendar? Everyone was saying it's going to be the end of the world. And so we didn't believe that, of course, but we liked playing with the idea of it. And so we got a whole bunch of guests, people who were astronomers and cosmologists and physicists and biologists, and we brought people in for 21 hours By the end, I was very tired. And this year, we reached 500 episodes. So we've been going for quite a while now. We partied. We had a good time. It was like a milestone, 500. But now what? Now, what's the next step in the technology? What's the next leap of getting together with the audience that I'm going to be able to have? And so there's this platform called Periscope, if some of you know of it. And Periscope is this live streaming platform that allows you to use your phone. And so I can use my phone, and I'm going to write live now at PDX Maker Faire. And I'm going to connect it with my Twitter account, and I'm going to start the broadcast. Look at this. I'm recording live. This is so meta. Oh, wait, I should turn my camera around, huh? Wait, I'll have it look at you guys. Wait a minute, everybody. You're live on camera right now. So, so Periscope allows me to be able to talk to people right now. Just turn it on and stream, and there are people right now, and I can use my phone. I can be anywhere that I have a connection. And what I'm using Periscope for now is the day of the show in the morning or sometime in the middle of the day, I get on Periscope and I go, hey everybody, hey you guys. This is what's on TWIS tonight. You don't want to miss it. This is the rundown. This is what we're looking forward to. So come join us tonight. Come find out how it's going to be. And and like this whole time, I've also been streaming to nobody. I think we have 2 viewers right now. 3 viewers. Hello on Google. And so we now have these amazing tools that allow us to be mobile and that allow us to move wherever we want to move as long as we've got a connection. And it allows you to be more connected to people out there. So if you have an idea for a podcast, a show, it doesn't have to be the traditional idea of a podcast anymore. It doesn't have to just be the traditional idea of a radio show anymore. There are all these new ways that you can use the technology to start thinking about how to get some piece of information, some visual content, some content out to the audience we care about. And so, yeah, basically where we're gonna go from here, I just keep looking for the next technology, and I don't know about the selfie stick. I'm really not sure about this thing. I haven't decided whether I like it yet or not, but it makes it a little easier to hold the phone and talk to you guys right now. Yeah, so we are on live Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Pacific time on twis.org/live, or you can go to twis.org/YouTube, and that will take you directly to our YouTube channel. And on Twitter, I'm at TWIS Science or at Dr. Hee. Thank you for joining us, and thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed my little talk. If there are any questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
So getting people to move from platform to platform to platform, it seems like it's a tough thing.
Yeah.
So has there been any constant the whole time? Like the website is the constant,
Yeah.
And how do you promote? I mean, do you have any insight on moving from site to method to method?
Method to method, yeah. So sometimes there are growing pains in moving from place to place or from method to method, and you do lose people. So we lost a bunch of people when we left the TWIT network because people just thought that we were with TWIT, and they just thought that when we parted ways, that we were done. And they didn't think to keep looking for us, even though I was telling everybody, no, I'm gonna keep doing it. So sometimes you just lose people, and it's unfortunate. You have to kind of start over. But in terms of constants, I think there are very important ones like your website. So you always have your website that is the home for the most important information, or like our website is where I post the podcast episodes and the show notes. So you can always go to our website and get the links to the stories and get pertinent information for each episode. And then I try out new social media platforms, but the big ones are the ones that are going to stick around. And I think it's good to get your account, like I got an account for Ello, the no money, the no advertising social network. I never use it, but I just, I got the account so that at least I have my name. And I could try to use it, but it's not where the majority of people are. Like if you know that your audience is in a particular place, that everybody you know or in a particular group of an interest group, they're on Facebook, then you make a page on Facebook and you make that your primary focus. But if there are a bunch of people who are scientists on Google+, and Google+ has become a really big place for science, even though not really anybody else is there. So, I don't know, I have been on Twitter, Facebook, and now Google+, and those are the big three for me. I also, for professional contacts, LinkedIn, I think it's important to post on LinkedIn. But in terms of, that's the social media outreach and messaging, and that's how I try to reach people, to tell them about things that are changing in the show.
I think I've seen infographics on Reddit before. Do you post to the Reddit, or is that someone else?
Oh, so the This Week in Science on Reddit is someone else.
Okay, all right,
It
I wasn't
is.
sure.
Yeah.
Just a coincidence.
It's a coincidence, yes. This Week in Science is because it's a general, we started doing the show a long time ago, but because it's like a general phrase,
Yeah.
we weren't able to trademark it. So everybody's like, This Week in Science, This Week in Science. And yeah, we were first. Yeah.
How do you decide what subject you talk about each week or topics?
Yeah, so part of it is interest. Blair has a segment on the show called Blair's Animal Corner, and all of her stuff is animal related. She'll talk about invertebrates a lot. That's one of her main interests, but very often you also have things like, what does she bring? Evolution-related stories, conservation-related stories, because conservation of animals is one of her key interests. Justin is very interested in things like anthropology, human evolution, how we kind of came out of Africa and how we got to where we are now. And so he'll tend to bring things that are related to that. He also is interested in green technology and like solar technologies, and so he'll often bring things related to changes and developments in nanotechnology or solar. I've kind of gone from being a neuroscientist to being this generalist. I still love to focus on brain stories, but I also have branched out now, and I do a lot of astronomy, and I do a lot of cosmology and big physics stories. For the show, so interests drive what we talk about a lot and what stories we cover, but then additionally, we enjoy covering big stories. So this week, the big news everyone's talking about is the new human, Homo Maker, I don't remember what. Yeah, from the cave, the really tiny cave that the 6 women paleontologists uncovered, and that's the big news. And so for this week's show, that's probably something that I'll be talking about because it's big news. We have to talk about it. Last week, I had to bring up a story about the oldest galaxies that have been discovered. Also, there was a story about a magnetic wormhole. And because it has the word wormhole in it, geeks love that, and I love it, and so I had to kind of talk about that. Yes.
Is there a business model that's helping sort of sustain this all along, or is it just insane volunteer energy?
All of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of volunteer energy. Currently, and we've gone back and forth between having sponsors and not having sponsors. Right now, we're using a crowdsourced funding model over on Patreon, and so Patreon, Patreon, like patron, but then made a little bit more techy. And so it's kind of like being a patron of the arts. The website allows you, or the platform allows you as a content creator to be able to get your audience to support you episode by episode or on a monthly basis, but it's on an ongoing monthly donation basis. And you can choose to give gifts or give premiums in return for those donations, or just ask people to do it for out of the good of their own hearts. And so right now we have that's where the majority of our support is coming from.
Like, so I know on most Patreon accounts, you have like, there's like a number that, like how much you make every month. Like, what do you guys get every month on Patreon?
Right now, we're getting between around $1,600 to $2,000 a month. So it's enough to cover our basic costs and to buy us equipment when we need new equipment, and also to do other fun things, like something we want to do. We've been invited to a STEM theater festival in New York City in January, and so we're going to use the money to buy plane tickets, to be able to go to that. So that's what it will support. And we also get a little bit of excitement for each of us for the time we put in.
Related to all that, are you like a 501c3?
We are not.
Just
We're just doing it. Yeah. Yeah. People are very generous, and it's really wonderful. I think when you do something that people enjoy, people don't want to see it go away sometimes. They want to help out.
Have you met or done work with Bill Nye?
I have not. He's one of the people who's been like on the edges of things that I've done. Yeah. I have interviewed Michio Kaku, Brian Cox, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I've talked with him. What else have I done work? I've done a lot of stuff with a lot of people, but not Bill Nye yet. Yet.
It's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Maybe he'll interview you.
That would be good. He should. You guys, tell Bill Nye to interview me. It would be awesome. Any more questions about podcasting or technology or science or?
Well, I could totally ask.
You're at a Maker Faire.
Yes.
What's the, what or could be the connection between TWIS and the maker movement? Do you interview makers? Are you trying to go different?
Oh, well, we do. I mean, it depends on how you define makers, but I mean, we interview scientists and engineers who are doing really interesting work. So recently, we interviewed 3 girls who have been working on this engineering experiment to send up in one of the space shuttle missions. And so I think they were called Girls in Space, is what they were calling themselves. But we talked with them. They're high school girls who are doing this really interesting work out of the box. It's not part of their high school work. It's just their parents have actually allowed them to dedicate a whole room in their house to their science experiments. And so it's these 3 girls just science hacking in a spare bedroom. And that was a really fun interview to do, talk with them. I've also talked with people who are involved in 3D printing and moving and getting 3D printing into space. Other people, Ari Gentry and some others who are involved in the DIY science hacking movement, who have created science hacker spaces. So, I mean, personally, I feel like, we're making media. We are using the technology available that has become cheap, relatively cheap, but readily available to anybody to be able to talk about science, talk about what people are doing, and help share what people are doing with everyone who is interested.
It's a little off topic, but I think it's right in lines. When you first talked about how the birds know where they're going,
Yes.
do you have a little slice of that you could tell us? How do birds know where they're going?
Okay, back to the birds. How do birds know where they're going? There are questions. People wonder whether there are some kind of magnetic particles or something that are held in cells, because there are some birds do actually use magnetic field lines to geolocate. They use the positioning of the sun and the stars. So those birds that migrate at night use a star compass. They also use not just the magnetic field lines, but polarization of light to be able to determine which directions they're going and which direction to go. And so it's a combination of these intrinsic abilities of them to sense these various sensory inputs, and then be able to correlate that with within their brain to memories. So the first time they migrate, they're laying down that neural map in their head. The first time they fly somewhere and follow their senses, they're laying down that map, and then they can use that repeatedly to be able to get back and forth every year. And then there are questions about, whether it is global memory versus local memory. So how do you get from the North Pole to the South Pole is a different question from how do you get from Beyonce to, Hawthorne Avenue. So there are these different questions of how do you actually get from place to place, find the food that you need to survive, and then move on. Fascinating.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why I spent many years studying it. Any more questions? Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. This never shuts off.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. If anyone wants a sticker or a patch or a button, I've got a box of swag. Bye, you guys. If I can figure out how to turn this off, my phone doesn't like turning things off.
Let's see passes.
Are you the producer?
Yes.
You are the producer of
Speaking science, yes. I'm host and producer. Yes.
Wonderful.
Well, you can have what anything you want.
I'm a science writer. Or
Oh, cool.
I want to be.
I wanted
Nice.
I'm listening real
Okay.
closely.
Cool, you have a patch. Listening very closely.
To what you're saying, I can't hear you. Great. Do you communicate with and work with science writers in Western Northwest?
I do, actually.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know several. I do. Have you gotten to be a part of the National Association for Science Writers? And they have the Northwest chapter.
I have not contacted.
Yeah, 'cause there is a Northwest chapter for science writers.
Oh, I saw the website. They're based in Seattle, aren't they?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I think the meetings are mostly up in Seattle, but
That's
they
what
do
I
have
figured out. But I haven't talked with them, and I really want to. Sure. What?
Yeah.
I participated more with the Society for Environmental Journalists,
Oh, cool.
and there are about 5 to 9 or so journalists who know each other through that, and they tried to meet once.
I should turn this off.
And,
Bye.